You could be paying more on your future electric bills now that the Obama administration is requiring all states to cut their carbon emissions. Local News 8's Caitlin Lukitas joins us live in Pocatello to explain why these new EPA regulations could get expensive. Caitlin, how are Idaho power companies dealing with these changes?
Well, Jay, power companies such as Idaho Power have been preparing for this switch for quite some time now, and they've been slowly turning toward more alternative sources of energy for the past few years. But no one expected a 700-page proposal to come down from the federal government, so it's going to be quite some time before anyone is really caught up with what these changes really mean. As Idaho keeps slowly making the voluntary switch to alternative energy, nobody was prepared for the federal government to make it mandatory.
It's good news for the Snake River Alliance, and it's good news for Idaho.
Beatrice Brailsford is a representative from the Snake River Alliance. She says these new regulations to cut carbon emissions will finally make for a healthier environment, since roughly 40% of Idaho's power comes from coal plants from neighboring states.
We have an opportunity going forward to have some more homegrown energy here in Idaho, which will lead to economic development here at home.
But for coal-reliant states such as Wyoming, this could be bad news for their economic growth, since coal is cheaper than alternative energy sources.
States will have a severely limited number of options for what they can do to meet the standards. Every one of those options are going to raise the cost of energy for American families.
Idaho Power's Mark Lupo says their #1 priority is to keep rates low for ratepayers, while still finding ways to comply with regulations.
We are in the process of doing a lot right now just to clean up what emissions are going out of those plants, so we can exceed what is the demand that we have to meet.
Lupo says it's still too early to determine the impacts this will have on the power company. So it's still too early to tell if rates will go up, but cutting coal would be cutting the cheap option. In Pocatello, I'm Caitlin Lukitas.
Thank you, Caitlin. And in a statement, Idaho Power says 50% of its power comes from hydro sources and 10% is wind purchased.